All right, let's go from Peter to Colin Lane, who's been photographing the storm. He lives in Paradise, Newfoundland, just outside St. John's. And Colin, describe the weather that you've seen today.
Well, Ian, we have a saying for the weather around here. It's not fit.
And, you know, you've lived through a lot of... Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's been blustery all day, and it's really picked up here lately. We just lost power about half hour ago, and luckily it came on to do the show with you. So there's a positive.
Yeah, but it looks bad where you are there. So what are you looking at? You're looking at snow and wind. And, I mean, you've seen lots of storms in Newfoundland over the years. How does this one compare?
Well, it's up there, but of course, you know, we survived Snowmageddon in 2020. And of course, I wouldn't be able to be out talking to you if we had that amount of snow again. But it certainly is winter.
Yeah, I appreciate the fact that you're talking to us live outside in the middle of that, because it really does give us a sense across the country of what you and other people in the St. John's area are enduring. Now, earlier today, you were taking pictures, documenting this storm and talking to people. What are some of the stories you heard from people?
Well, this morning I was up at 5 a.m. and, was shocked to see, everything was buried in. And, of course, couldn't go too far on the road. I managed to get to work around 9:30. And, of course, had a great conversation with a lot of people in the St. John's metro area who were, just trying to get around and, wishing for sunnier, warmer days.
Yeah. Peter Cowan was saying that on Cape Breton Island, there were 30 centimeters of snow, so that's a lot. But the good news for them is that the snow was at least relatively dry. I've shoveled dry snow and I've shoveled wet snow, and it's night and day in terms of the work it takes to move wet snow. What's the snow like in St. John's?
Well, Ian, it was a little bit more powdery this morning, but after, say, 4 o'clock local time, it had a lot of more moisture in it. And, of course, I just started shoveling out the walkways and the doors here. And, of course, you can definitely feel the difference.
And, different cities have different plans to deal with the snow. Vancouver doesn't get enough to really have a good plan, so it doesn't take much of a snowfall to shut us down. Where I grew up, just outside Moncton, we were used to the snow. We had lots of plows and all that sort of stuff. For St. John's tonight and tomorrow, how long do you think it'll take for the city to bounce back to normal?
Well, Ian, the crews have been out. I'm here in the town of Paradise, just outside the St. John's metro area. And, of course, the crews are busy going around, getting the main roads done. The Department of Transportation and Works have been out doing the highway. I was able to get home from work today without any issues. So as they get around tomorrow, things should be hopefully starting to get back on track.
Well, like I said, I can't thank you enough for not only talking to us tonight, but also being willing to go out there and brave the elements to do it. Colin, thank you very much. Colin Lane, a resident of Paradise, Newfoundland. Let's get more on the storm. Our CBC News science and climate specialist is Darius Madavi. And what's happening right now?
Well, we're seeing the storm continue to move further north and northeast, but stalling a little bit off the coast of Newfoundland, which is why we're continuing to see so much snow falling down. Now, I have a map here that I can show you of that storm as it's tracked north. We have a map somewhere here. There we go. This map as the storm continued to track north. It did develop fast enough to be considered a bomb cyclone. So it's just a very fast developing storm. They tend to pack very strong winds and drop a lot of snow, which is exactly what we saw. This is footage from Nova Scotia earlier today. Fortunately, the storm stayed a little bit further offshore than it might have, which has spared Nova Scotia the worst of it. But in Newfoundland, as we heard from several folks, we are seeing some much more intense effects of the storm, much heavier snowfall. And although we have seen some powdery stuff earlier, as we've seen that temperature start to come up a little bit, we've seen wetter and wetter snow starting to come down, especially in more southern parts of the province. In some places, we've even started to see a bit of a mix. So here's that snow earlier in Cape Breton. This is earlier today. And then we've seen it continue to move up towards Newfoundland, dropping a fair amount. And this is where you can see that mix along sort of southern areas. And we've seen it come in and out over the last several hours. This is the past 24 hours, and just radar imagery. And you can see it staying just offshore until just a few hours hours ago, we started to see a little bit more of a mix as that cold air met that warmer tropical air that storm was packing as it moved up further and further north. And so that's really the picture that we've continued to see throughout the day today.
Okay, so that takes us from yesterday to this evening. What about the forecast?
Well, we've got another few hours of some pretty heavy snowfall. We still have a number of weather warnings in effect. So these are winter storm warnings. These are yellow warnings, so the lowest level that Environment Canada issues under their new system. But we've got winter storm warnings and storm surge. Those are 6 to 9 meter waves that'll break as they get closer to shore. But definitely something to be on the lookout for folks who are out on the water or planning to be, maybe changing those plans at least until tomorrow morning, because high tide tonight and again tomorrow morning, those are times to be on the lookout. We also have an orange weather warning issued, a more widespread winter storm warning for some parts of the Avalon Peninsula as well as other parts of eastern Newfoundland. And then, of course, here is just where we see that snow starting to come in and then recede as we get later into tomorrow morning. May be pushed back a few hours from what this model is showing, which is about 5 or 6 a.m. Could last until about noon in some areas, but generally this is the pattern that we're seeing.
And I'm not sure, you're going to look kind of beyond Atlantic Canada now? Yeah,
that's right.
Okay.
I want to zoom out a little bit further to the States because this was also a very disruptive storm down there. We saw a lot of snowfall, as much in some areas, the most snow they've gotten in 4 decades in places like North Carolina, but also that really cold air that we've seen starting to creep down, not just in eastern Canada, but down to the States as well, which has proved very disruptive for a number of industries, not least the planned Artemis launch that is supposed to happen later this week. They had to delay it by a couple days as a result of all this cold air that's been creeping south, and I think we'll talk more about that later in the show.
We absolutely will. Thank you very much, Darius.
Thank you.
A 55-year-old woman has died after being struck by a snowplow in Truro, Nova Scotia. Local police said the woman was walking across a car dealership parking lot when she was hit. She was taken to hospital but died shortly after. Truro police say the investigation continues. At this point, no charges have been laid.